Welcome to another video of Ancient Greece Reloaded. In this video we will talk about what happens when heroes mess up, the case of Theseus. By the way, if you like the video, please do not forget to click on the like icon, the subscribe button so as to support the project of Ancient Greece Reloaded, and also click on the bell icon so as to stay tuned for upcoming videos. Also, all research links related to this video are included in the video description below. Alright, that out of the way, let us begin. Once upon a time there were two kings who were best buddies and they were drinking wine to the point of getting wasted. One king was the king of Athens and the legendary hero Theseus, the guy that killed the Minotaur. The other king being Pirithous, the king of Lapiths. Today it would be around Larissa, somewhere around central Greece. Anyway, as they were drinking, they got the funny idea that since they were semi-gods, they should have every right to marry divine wives, meaning either a semi-goddess or a goddess. For the record, at that time Theseus was around 50 years old and his first wife had died, so both of these two kings were solo. In any event, the decision was made and they started strolling around Greece in order to find their divine wives. Eventually, they reached a temple of Artemis in which a young girl was either making an offering or dancing in front of the temple. It all depends on the source that you study. This young girl was very beautiful to the point that the jaws of the two bodies hit the ground. It did not take long for the two kings to realize that this girl was a semi-goddess. They grabbed her and ran away, aka they abducted her. The name of the girl was Helen, and later on she would become known as the beautiful Helen of Troy. The question now was whose wife she would become, and since they were best friends they decided to roll the dice, and the lucky one was Theseus, so Helen would become the wife of Theseus. Guys, as a side note, all of this occurred before the time of the suitors of Helen and the Trojan War, which means that at that time Helen was not at the age for marriage. In other words, Helen was very young. Some sources even go so far as stating that at that time Helen was between 10 and 12 years old. No comments. Anyway, Theseus took Helen to IPHIGENIA, a small town next to Athens, and lived together with her. Although Helen was very young, thus Theseus could not marry her yet, and nevertheless their relationship moved to the next base, meaning that, according to many sources, they also had a daughter which would become known as IPHIGENIA. If you guys do not know who IPHIGENIA is, let me just say that she was a major character in the ancient Greek mythology, and if you are interested to read more about her, look at the video description below where we have included all relevant links. Now, time passed by and eventually Pirithous came to visit Theseus, and this guy started to drink and to get wasted once again. So Pirithous said, "Listen up, Theseus. You're all set up and good to go, but what about me? Did we not agree to help each other in order to find our divine wives?" "You are right, brother. So have you decided which woman you would like to make yours?" Theseus replied. And Pirithous said, "Yes, I have decided to take as my wife Persephone." At that point, Theseus should just drop the mic and leave the stage. However, instead of smacking Pirithous, Theseus decided to help his friend. To put things into perspective, at that time Persephone was already the queen of the Underworld. So as to help you to get the full picture, here are the three main points that virtually scream trouble for the two friends. 1. Persephone was the daughter of goddess Demeter and Zeus, which made her something like a royalty among royalties in Mount Olympus. For a semi-god, Persephone existed on a completely different dimension, aka she was out of reach. 2. Persephone was the queen of the Underworld, which means that piss her off and your eternal afterlife would be doomed. 3. The one above Persephone was her husband, the king of the Underworld, whose name was Hades. You see guys, Hades was one of the 3 G's in Mount Olympus. In other words, after the Titanomachy ended, Zeus, Poseidon and Hades rolled the dice of who would rule over what. Zeus ended up with the sky, hence he became the king of the gods. Poseidon ended up with the water element, aka ocean, seas, river, etc., while Hades ended up ruling over the underworld and the afterlife. But in terms of power, these 3 gods were at the same league, and these 2 idiots wanted to go after Hades' wife. Not to mention the fact that once the name of Persephone dropped on the table, the animal kingdom went to inform the divine couple of the underworld. In other words, a little birdie revealed their plans to Hades and Persephone. So Theseus left Helen in the company of his mother Aethra and Pirithous' sister Phisadia and went on to search for one of the many entries to the underworld. Their mission was to kidnap Persephone. And when they entered the underworld, things went south for them. There are various stories of how things played out, but the most popular version is the following one. Hades welcomed the 2 kings and offered them hospitality. A huge feast was set up for them. However, the moment they sat down, snakes coiled around their feet and held them there. The guards of the underworld came and threw them into prison. 2 years passed, and at some point Hercules came to visit Hades and Persephone for whatever reason. By the way, Hercules was in a very friendly terms with Hades and Persephone. If you guys remember, one of the labors that Hercules had to complete was to bring Kerberos, the three-headed dog, to the world of the living. He was able to complete this task because Hades allowed him to take Kerberos for a stroll. So when Hercules realized that his friend Theseus was imprisoned, he pleaded to Hades to show mercy to the two kings. Hades thought about it and said, "Hercules, my boy, take Theseus and you can leave. But Pirithous, who tried to go after my wife, is a no-go. He shall stay in prison for all eternity." Thus Hercules returned to the world of the living together with Theseus, who was now free. However, in these 2 years that Theseus was imprisoned, the two brothers of Helen, Castor and Pollux, also known as the Dioscuri, were able to find the whereabouts of Helen. They raised an army, in our case the entire Spartan army. They marched to the small town of IPHIGENIA, freed Helen and her daughter, took Theseus' mother and Pirithous' sister with them. These two women would also become the handmaidens of Helen and later would follow her to Troy, and they destroyed the entire town by also slaughtering everyone in it so as to set an example. The merciless actions of the Dioscuri made the Athenians to crap their pants, and the one responsible for it, aka provoking Sparta, was Theseus' abduction of Helen. So when Theseus returned back, the Athenians kicked him out of Athens, and Theseus was forced to leave Athens and to go to Skyros, which is an island, where he also died over there. Hence, in the end, Theseus had lost his best buddy Pirithous, who was left imprisoned in the Underworld. He had lost his wife and daughter, who were now in Sparta, and he could not retrieve them, and he had also lost his kingdom, which was Athens. So what is the lesson of the story? When you get drunk, make sure A. to not make any serious decisions, B. to not take any actions, and C. when you are drunk, do not drive your bloody car. And at this point we have reached the end of our video. If you would like to read more about what we did discuss in this video, check out the links provided in the video description below. Do not forget to like our video and to subscribe to our channel so as to support the project of Ancient Greece Reloaded, and to click on the bell icon as well. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for upcoming videos.